or
Please continue, sir.
yeah. Madam, you started recording now, huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Today we are discussing about most valuable, cherishable right of protection of life or personal liberty. Article 21 of the Constitution, which gives a right to protection of life or personal liberty in order to develop the country, gives us most valuable right. This right, this article 21 reads like this: protection of life and personal liberty. No person shall be deprived of his life or personal liberty except according to procedure established by law. In 1947, when first case A.K. Gopalan state of Bastras has arisen, the Honorable Supreme Court has held that if there is a law, that law is reasonable or fair, and it wants to achieve a particular goal, then life or personal liberty of citizen or non-citizen can be deprived with that law. But half late, due to the interpretation of the words life or personal liberty and also law and procedure and all that in Article 21, and also implementation of the philosophy of basic structure of the Constitution, now we can say that it is not any law that can deprive the life or personal liberty of an individual, that is citizen or non-citizen. The law must be in accordance with the Constitution. It shall not violate any of the fundamental rights of a citizen. The law must be fair, reasonable. It should be to achieve a goal. With that only you can deprive the personal liberty or life of a person. Because the moment you arrest a person, whether legally or illegally, all his rights are put to an end. When all these rights are fundamental rights, and we have a right under Article 32 to approach the Honorable Supreme Court by submitting appropriate proceedings, then that fundamental right has to be implemented. What is that Article 32? Article 32 says that remedies for enforcement of rights conferred by this part. So, when you have given under Constitution certain rights and also defined them as fundamental rights, there must be a right for implementation of those rights or enforcement of those rights. The rights can be enforced or implemented if you provide a remedy if for any reason these rights are violated. So Article 32, very, very important right. It says the fundamental right under Article 32 is like this: the right to move the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of the rights conferred by this part is guaranteed. So the Constitution has given a guarantee to you that if there is any violation or if you want to enforce any of your rights which are given in Part 3, that is fundamental rights. Part 3 of the Constitution deals with fundamental rights. Part 3 runs from Article 12 to Article 35. Article 12 to 35 are the fundamental rights. So Article 32 gives a remedy to you by defining that you have got a right to move the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for the enforcement of the rights conferred by this part, and that way the Constitution has guaranteed enforcement of your rights under provided under Constitution in Chapter 3. Chapter 3, as I said, deals with fundamental rights from Article 12 to 35. So we have to see at first about what are the rights you are having, and if you want to enforce those rights, what are the remedies that you are having as per the Constitution. At first, the Constitution has provided a remedy by giving a right to move the Supreme Court by appropriate proceedings for enforcing or implementing any of the fundamental rights that are provided in Chapter 3. So when this guarantee is there, you may ask me, what are the appropriate proceedings that have to take place? You can file a writ before the Honorable Supreme Court directly for enforcing your rights provided under Part 3 in the Constitution, which deals with fundamental rights. You are also having alternative remedy or a simultaneous remedy to approach the Honorable High Court under Article 226. Let us see what are the powers of the Supreme Court under Article 32. Under Article 32, the powers of the Supreme Court is or to issue directions or orders. So Supreme Court has got ample power to issue any directions or orders. Not only that, it can also issue writs. So directions or orders or writs can be passed by the Honorable Supreme Court when you approach the Honorable Supreme Court to enforce your rights. So what type of writs? The writs include in the nature of habeas corpus, mandamus, prohibition, quo warranto, and certiorari. The Honorable Supreme Court will look into your writ petition and then see what order can be passed, what direct can be given, what type of writ can be issued in the particular case, and what order or direction or writ is appropriate for what, in order to enforce the rights of a citizen or non-citizen that are provided in Part 3. What is Part 3? As I said, it deals with fundamental rights. So these are the powers of the Supreme Court provided under Article 32, Clause 2. Then Article 32, Clause 3 says, without prejudice to the powers conferred on the Supreme Court by Clauses 1 and 2, Parliament may by law empower any other court to exercise within the local limits of its jurisdiction all or any of the powers exercisable by the Supreme Court under Clause 2. So this particular Article 32, Clause 3 gives a power to Parliament to make laws in order to give the powers of the Honorable Supreme Court to any other court which are within the jurisdiction of the Supreme Court. So the Parliament has got such power. Then Clause 4 says these rights guaranteed, that is the right under Article 32, which says that you are having a remedy to approach the Honorable Supreme Court to implement or enforce the rights conferred by the Constitution under Chapter 3 cannot be suspended except as otherwise provided for by this constitution. So with this article 32, let us see what are the other powers of the Supreme Court. The other powers of the Supreme Court is under article 141. What it says? It says the law declared by the Supreme Court shall be binding on all courts within the territory of India. So whatever law Supreme Court says finally, after or by passing any judgment or order, that is implementable and binding on all courts in the country. That is one. So final court is Supreme Court. Then article 142, it says that whatever may be the law, the Supreme Court has got power for what? In exercise of its jurisdiction, it has got a power to pass such decree or order, complete justice in any cause or matter pending before it, and that decree is enforceable all over the India in such manner as may be prescribed by the Parliament, until provision in that behalf is so made in such manner as the President may by order prescribe. So the power of the Supreme Court in order to do complete justice is unlimited. Such power is exercised rarely by the Supreme Court whenever it is necessary to do complete justice. Certain times laws may not be available. Parliament may not made a particular law to deal with the situation. In that case, this article 142 is exercisable by the Supreme Court. Then article 144, it says civil and judicial authorities to act in aid of the Supreme Court. So this power is to compel any authority within the territory of India to aid the Supreme Court for implementing its orders, directions, or writs, or any other judgment of it. So then comes article 145. This article 145, it deals with rules to be prepared by the Supreme Court for doing certain things. But that said power is subject to the provisions of any law made by Parliament. So here is a one rule, article 145 clause G. This clause G deals with rules as to granting of bail. So the Honorable Supreme Court is empowered under law, that is under article 145 rule G, to make rules for granting bail from time to time, but approval of the President has to be taken place. With this, let us see what are the powers of the Honorable High Court in respect of fundamental rights. Notwithstanding anything contained in article 32. So whatever is said till now about the powers of the Supreme Court under article 32 and the remedy provided to citizens and non-citizens to approach the Honorable Supreme Court directly for enforcing the rights provided or given under several articles in part 3, which deals with fundamental rights. The High Court shall have powers. To what extent? To the extent of the territories in relation to which it exercises jurisdiction, to give any direction or orders or writs or any of them for what? For enforcement of any of the rights conferred under part 3. So concurrent jurisdiction. Supreme Court and High Court are having concurrent jurisdiction together. You can approach the Supreme Court or High Court whenever your laws are, whenever your fundamental rights are violated. At the same time, under Article 226, the High Court has got power to pass any order not only for the purposes of enforcing the fundamental rights given to citizens or non-citizens under Part 3, but also for any other purpose. This is important. The Honorable High Court is having more powers than the Supreme Court to the extent that it has power to pass same orders what the Supreme Court has got power to pass orders, not only for the purpose of enforcing or implementing the fundamental rights, but also for any other purpose. So the jurisdiction of the Honorable High Court is very wide, and by exercising that power and jurisdiction, whenever there is injustice, by using this power in order to do justice for any other purpose, not only for the purpose of implementing or enforcing the fundamental rights, the High Court has got power to pass orders or directions or issue writs. With this, now we have understood the very valuable rights of citizens of or not citizens of this country. Then we know that by following procedure under law, you can arrest a person, and by arresting that person, you are going to indirectly or directly violating his fundamental rights under Article 14, 19, and 21. Because if you arrest a person and keep him in the jail, what is happening? He is not able to enforce, enjoy his right to life or right to personal liberty, or he cannot freely talk. His fundamental right to freedom of speech also violated under Article 19. Likewise, his right under Article 14, that is what the Article 14 says. Article 14 says equality before the law. State shall not deny to any person equality before the law or the equal protection of the laws within the territory of India. So, equality before the law must be there, equal protection of the laws must be there. So, by arresting and keeping a person in jail, you are going to violate all these articles under Article 14, 19, and 21. That is, fundamental rights are going to be violated. In such case, there must be a proper law. Suppose if a person committed an offense, what is an offense? Some act done which is prohibited by law, for which there is some punishment given, that's an offense. We have Indian Penal Code and various other laws which describes about what are the offenses. When any offense is committed by any person, when law says that that offense is punishable, a person is entitled for punishment as per that particular provision. Then that is called substantive law. Indian Penal Code is substantive law. Then we have got Criminal Procedure Code. Criminal Procedure Code deals with how and in what way and what is the procedure through which a person who committed offense must be dealt with and punished. Procedure of before arrest or after arrest, and also trial of cases and all that. Let us see what is this Criminal Procedure Code in respect of arrest. For understanding this, we must know what is cognizable offense, what is non-cognizable offense. Cognizable offense, section 2C of Code of Criminal Procedure Code says, it means an offense for which, and cognizable case means a case in which a police officer may, in accordance with the first schedule or under any other law for the time being in force, arrest without warrant. Generally speaking, whenever a police officer wants to arrest a person, here you must keep in mind arrest means violation of fundamental rights. So fundamental rights, if violated, you can directly go and approach the Honorable Supreme Court directly under Article 32 or under Article 226. When he is going to violate your fundamental rights, he must show warrant. The police officer must show the warrant. Warrants are given by whom? Warrants are given by the court. Court will issue warrant. Bailable warrant or non-bailable warrant. What is bailable warrant? Bailable warrant means if the person who is going to be arrested executes a bond as per the orders of the court, then he is given bail then and there. He simply, when bailable warrant is brought, he will be told that a warrant is issued by the court for this purpose. If you execute a bond, then you are given bail here itself. You need not approach the court. Then that is called bailable warrant. A warrant along with bail. Then what is non-bailable warrant? Non-bailable warrant means he is not entitled for any bail at the time of arrest. Police officer goes to him, arrests him, and he has to bring and produce that person before the court. The police officer has no business to give bail to him. Even if you are ready to execute any bond or ready to furnish sureties also, the police officer, when an NBW is issued, NBW means non-bailable warrant is issued, is under an obligation to arrest the person and bring him before the court. So cognizable offense and cognizable case means in a case where police officer or as per first schedule or as per any other law empowered for the time being in force arrest a person without warrant. So you must see, if a police officer tells, I am having an NBW, non-bailable warrant to arrest you, then you can ask him, under what are the sections of offenses? What are the offenses I have committed? Show me. If he is able to show that in the first schedule, that particular offense is mentioned as a cognizable offense, and the case that can be filed or filed against him is a cognizable case, then he can arrest you by executing that non-bailable warrant. That is first thing. Maybe in CRPC, in first schedule, that particular offense is not described. There may be some other law for the time being in force which gives power to arrest a person without warrant. Then also the police officer is entitled to arrest that fellow by executing a warrant because it is a cognizable offense. Then what is non-cognizable offense is contra. So with this, we have to go now and see two more important provisions. What are those provisions? The first provision is what has to be done when a person is arrested and police officer's duty is, first he must see whether he is arresting that person under a bailable warrant or non-bailable warrant. If it is a bailable offense, rather bailable warrant, then he can give bail. Some people, they say that we don't want to execute any bond. I am ready to go to jail. Then also the police officer under section 51 first search that person and find out what are the articles that are there with him and seize them. and give a receipt to him. So this duty can be done by a police officer under section 51. If it is arresting a female, then female constables has to assist that police officer. This is 51. Then 52 says, if that person is having any weapons, that weapons has to be seized by the police officer and make arrest accordingly. Then section 53 and 54. 53 says, if a person is alleged to have committed any offense and examination of that person will afford evidence as to the commission of an offense, then that person can be taken to a medical officer for examination of that person in order to know under what circumstances, under what are the reasonable grounds to show by way of affording evidence as to the commission of the offense. Then examination of that person can be done under section 53. Under section 53A, if the person arrested is alleged has committed an offense of rape, then examination of him by a medical practitioner is compulsory. So section 53A recently added in the year 2006 in order to examine the person who is alleged to have committed an offense of rape in order to see that evidence is not destroyed. So 53, medical practitioner can examine that person. 53A, if the offender or the accused is alleged to have committed an offense of rape, then he must be examined by a medical practitioner. Then comes 54. This is a very important section. It says when any person is arrested, he shall be examined by a medical officer in the service of central or state governments, and in case the medical officer is not available, by a registered medical practitioner soon after the arrest is made. So definitely when a person is arrested, he must be taken to a medical officer. What type of medical officer? A person in service, a doctor, a medical officer in the service of central or state government. In case such medical officer is not available, then by a registered medical practitioner soon after the arrest is made. If it is female, then female under the supervision of female medical officer, he should be examined. Then what that medical officer has to do? He must prepare the record of such examination, mentioning therein any injuries or marks of violence upon the person arrested and the approximate time when such injuries or marks may have been inflicted. This is the very, very important evidence. Medical officer or medical practitioner, registered medical practitioner, both of them are independent. Whatever they mention in their certificate or the record about examination of a particular person and finding some injuries or marks of violence upon the person arrested, and also the approximate time when such injuries or marks may have been inflicted. If the arrested person is suffering with any injuries or there are marks of violence, then these must be noted in the certificate by giving an opinion about approximate time when such injuries or marks may have been inflicted. Not only that, the copy of the report of such examination shall be given to the arrested person or the person nominated by such arrested persons. So these important provisions under CRPC shall be complied with. Now we have to see about what the latest cases which are very important nowadays, because these are connected to political parties and the parties in power. Because generally when important persons or VIPs are arrested, or a person of downtrodden or some backward persons or some persons who are very poor are arrested, then generally the matters are taken up by the Supreme Court very seriously in order to know whether fundamental rights are violated or not. If violated,
సార్ మళ్ళీ అసెంబ్లీ అవుదాం, మళ్ళీ అసెంబ్లీ అవుదాం.
Join again, sir.
అలాగే
Yeah,
అలాగే అలాగే
thank you, sir. Please, dear students, please join once again.